Welcome, my groovy ghouls, to Coffin Break. I've been off YouTube for the past few months due to a sleeping problem. I have recovered and I have typed up several scripts. I thought about my upload schedule and I'll try to make one fun video and one film video each month, and I think I'll be able to have a little more fun with the channel. This month's fun video will be how to make a long furry. I was not aware long furries existed until I watched YouTuber Strange Eons. Strange Eons links is down below. Click and share the love. And even though I told myself over and over, I will do not need a long furry, I do not need to use my money for this, I knew I was lying to myself every single time. And I gave in and I have created my own long furry. Warning, before you go into this semi-guide on how to make a long furry, please understand you're about to fall into a very chaotic world. Making a long furry is not as easy as it seems, at least not for your first one. So step 1, gather your materials. You will need one Furby, at least, 2 types of fabric, one furry fabric that matches your Furby, and the other one for the belly, whatever color, whatever pattern you want, one spine, aka piece and boy socket flexible armature, fluff filling, equipment, seam ripper, scissors, marker, pen, needle and thread, pins, sewing machine, hot glue, or crazy glue. Now, the lengths of the fabrics will depend on the length of the spine. If you don't want a spine, then the length is totally up to you. I ordered a 3.5 foot spine, so I got 2 yards of fabric. And I know someone in there in the comments might say, oh, you only need 1 yard of fabric or 1.5 because lengths. And I just bought 2 because it was going to be easier to cut. So now I have a lot of fabric left over. Most materials are inexpensive. The most expensive one was the Furby. I had to go to eBay and I had to snipe on a Furby bid, and I did it on my first try, so that made me very happy that day. For the fabric, look for coupons before you buy. Most craft stores usually have at least like a 15% off coupon. Go to their website, look for the coupons. For the spine, this one's a little harder one to find. I did find it on eBay as well. The thickness was a 1/4 inch, and that 1/4 inch makes it so it fits exactly to the faceplate. You can just pop them together. Now that you've gathered all the materials, step 2, dissect the Furby. Now this is for a normal Furby. If you have a mechanical one, I don't know how to guide you here. I am very sorry. Turn your Furby upside down. On the seam between the belly and the body, use a seam ripper to cut in and remove the threading on the bottom. You can also just cut through the belly of the Furby because you won't need the little bottom part, but that just seemed very aggressive and I didn't want to do that. It is tough though, so you can just cut. Remove the feet, but keep track of the feet. Remove the beanbag, you can toss that. If you want to wash your Furby, this would be the moment. Use cold water, hand wash it, and hang to dry. Do not put your Furby in the dryer. It might take your Furby to dry. It took mine a few days, but there was cold weather and my room is not particularly warm. Step 4, measure and cut the fabric. I started with the belly fabric because it would be the easiest to turn it to the back side. Measure and cut. For the width of the belly is 2.5 inches, plus I added an inch on each side, so there'll be room for seam and a little bit of room for error. The length is obviously the length of the spine. Follow the same step with the fur, but with the fur you want to have 2 pieces. Take your time cutting the fur fabric because the scissors can jam. With the measurement of the width for the fur, I fucked up. I did 2 separate fur pieces and I thought I had done them 3 inches for the width, and then plus I was an inch on each side for seamage and sewing error. But now that I've measured my long Furby completed product, the fur measurements, one of them is at 4 inches and the other one is at 4.5 inches. So the chaos begins. Step 6, sew the fabrics together. So even though I made room in the fur fabric to have a seam, I didn't do it because it was just too thin and it wouldn't I don't know, they just didn't want to sew it together. But I was able to get a seam folded and threaded for the belly fabric. And then you put the 2 opposite ends of the fabric, one of the belly, and one side you put 1 piece of fur, the other one you put the other piece of fur, and you sew it together. Now, when you're using the sewing machine, for the belly fabric, when you're just doing the belly fabric, you can go fast at a fast speed. But when you're doing the for textured fabric, you want to go at a slow medium pace because it can get jammed, the machine, and the needle can break. And at the end, you should have kind of like this open tube cylinder fabric sewn together. Also, during this step, you might also want to do the ears. It's up to you if you want to keep the Furby's pink ears or if you want to match it to the pattern you picked out for the fabric. If you picked up for the fabric, then use the seam splitter to remove the ears from the head, and then use the seam splitter to remove the pink fabric from the black fur fabric of the Furby. Keep the black fur fabric, because that's the one you're going to use. Use a small piece of the belly fabric, lay it face up, and then put the black ear fabric face down and just sew around the same seam where the old pink fabric used to be, and then you'll have the ears. Turn the ears inside out and you have the ear done. Also note that in the ears there is this little wire that makes them stand up. In the original Furby, I had to remove it. I couldn't sew the ears back on, keeping the little wire. But when you sew the ears back on, they do stand up. You probably don't need that wire. During the step, while I still had like the open tube fabric done, I turned the Furby upside down and I hand sew the tube fabric to the Furby. So the tube fabric is the belly fabric and the two fur fabrics that are sewn to the sides. And then once I sewed in the head, I turned the head inside out, so the fabric's inside out as well. And I sewed the back of the Furby. You have to be careful not to how you're sewing it. Make sure the head's not in the way of the needle. And that's how I got my Furby tube done. Then we come to the complicated step, a little more complicated than expected at least. So step 7, add the spine and fill with fluff. As when you have the Furby inside out, go ahead and with the faceplate, use glue gun or a crazy glue and hold together the faceplate in the ball socket material. Now I have the 1/4 inch, so it fit right perfectly. It clicked right in. I did try using Gorilla Glue. It didn't work. I tried using hot glue. That also didn't work for me. So what I ended up doing was I filled the whole tube with fluff, and then at the very end I added the spine before I closed the tube. So if it works for you, that's awesome. I'm glad it does. It didn't work for me. But what you would do would be hook the faceplate to the spine, let it dry, let it sit, and then turn the Furby the right side in. Would that be right side out? So slowly turn the Furby right side out. As you're turning him right side out, fill it with fluff. That way the spine is in the middle and not like mine is where it's sticking out through the belly fabric. You can see little bumps on him. And then when you get to the very end, when he's all filled up, sew in the feet at the bottom of the belly fabric. And then with the fur fabric, seal up the butt patch at the end. And congratulations, you have made a long Furby. Note on the fluff, you might be wondering how much fluff do I need for my long Furby. I had originally done some mathematics because, I learned them in school and I thought, hey, I should use this. And I bought, oh my god, 4 bags of fluff. I only needed 1 bag, so you only need 1 bag of a 12-ounce fluff for at least a 3.5 foot Furby. So that should give you an idea how much fluff you need. I now have to go to the store and return the extra bags of fluff. Oh my gosh. Just building a Furby is chaotic. At the end is very rewarding though. You get to have your very own long Furby and get to enjoy your life with them. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it helped out a little on the process of making a long Furby. There are more detailed instructions out there. There's obviously more videos out there, so check those out as well. Don't just trust on my experience, because I feel like everything fell into chaos, and I can see why. Like, at the end, it feels so rewarding. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. Well, it's night for me at least. It's dark outside. It's not even 7 yet, so. I hope everyone see you in the next video. Hoping I'll get it out pretty soon. I just need to make time to record. Thank you guys.